He thought she was just a waitress until her identity was revealed. The ballroom glittered like something out of a dream. Crystal chandeliers hung from a ceiling painted in gold leaf. A soft orchestra played near the stage. The city's wealthiest families sat at round tables draped in white silk, sipping imported champagne. Tonight was supposed to be about generosity. It was the annual Children's Hope Foundation fundraiser, a night where $1 million pledges were made with applause and camera flashes. At the center of it all stood Arthur Whitmore, a tech billionaire known for his sharp suits, sharper tongue, and even sharper ego. Arthur loved the spotlight, and tonight the spotlight loved him back. Among the silent choreography of servers moving between tables was a young black waitress named Naomi Carter. She wore a simple black uniform, her hair neatly tied back, calm, professional, invisible. At least, that's how most guests saw her. Naomi wasn't just a waitress. She was a full-time law student working nights to pay tuition. She had memorized constitutional law cases the same way she memorized table numbers, but none of that mattered here. To the elite crowd, she was just part of the background. Until she wasn't. Arthur stepped up to the podium, tapping the microphone with a grin. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, adjusting his cufflinks, "tonight we celebrate compassion." Polite laughter. He spoke about innovation, about leadership, about how people like him change the world. As Naomi passed near the stage with a tray of champagne flutes, one glass tilted slightly. A single drop splashed onto the edge of Arthur's designer shoe. It wasn't even visible, but Arthur felt it. He looked down, then up. His eyes locked onto Naomi. The room went silent. And then, with the microphone still amplifying his voice across the hall, Arthur chuckled and said, "Careful there, we don't need any monkeys running around ruining the night." Not the polite silence of wealthy guests, the heavy, suffocating kind. The orchestra stopped playing mid-note. Every fork froze in midair. Naomi stood still. For a split second, her face showed shock, not because she hadn't faced racism before, but because it had never been this public, this bold, this shameless, and on a night meant for charity. A few uncomfortable laughter echoed from one corner of the room. Arthur smirked, assuming the moment would pass. It didn't. At table 3 sat Judge Malcolm Reed, a respected federal judge and longtime donor to the foundation. He slowly removed his glasses. He wasn't looking at Arthur. He was looking at Naomi, because Naomi Carter was his daughter. Judge Reed stood up. Chairs scraped across marble floors. Arthur's confident grin began to fade as whispers spread like wildfire. Did he just say that? Is this live? Yes, it was live. Several media outlets were streaming the fundraiser. Arthur's words had already been clipped, shared, replayed. Judge Reed walked toward the stage with calm, controlled steps. "Mr. Whitmore," he said evenly, his voice carrying without a microphone, "would you like to repeat what you just said?" Arthur blinked. He laughed nervously. "Oh, come on, Judge, it was just a joke." "A joke?" Judge Reed replied. He turned toward Naomi. "That waitress you just insulted is Naomi Carter, a third-year law student, Dean's List, intern at my court last summer." A ripple moved through the room. "And," he paused, letting the weight settle, "and she's my daughter." Arthur's face drained of color. The donors who moments ago applauded him were now staring as if he were something toxic. Phones were out, not for selfies, for recording. The foundation's director rushed to the stage, whispering frantically. But it was too late. Arthur tried to speak. "Judge Reed, I didn't mean—" "You meant exactly what you said," the judge replied calmly. And then came the real blow. "Our firm was considering a partnership with Whitmore Technologies for a federal education initiative." Gasps. "Effective immediately," Judge Reed continued. "That discussion is over." The entire ballroom looked at Naomi. She hadn't moved. Her hands were steady. She steps forward slowly. Not as a waitress, not as a victim, but as a woman reclaiming the moment. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She simply said, "You built your fortune talking about innovation, Mr. Whitmore. Maybe it's time you innovate your mindset." The room erupted. Not with polite applause, but real applause. Standing applause.
Arthur had never experienced that kind of silence before, the kind where power leaves the room. Within hours, the video was everywhere. Headlines read, "Billionaire's racist slur caught live at charity gala. Whitmore Technology stock dropped 12% the next morning. Board members issued emergency statements. Sponsors pulled out. An internal investigation was announced. Arthur released an apology video. But the internet wasn't interested, because apologies sound different when they come after consequences. 2 weeks later, something unexpected happened. The Children's Hope Foundation announced a new scholarship fund. Its name? The Naomi Carter Justice Scholarship, funded by anonymous donors. The first donation came from Judge Reed. The second? From thousands of strangers who saw the video and wanted to stand on the right side of history. As for Arthur Whitmore, he stepped down as CEO 3 months later, officially for personal reflection, unofficially because shareholders don't like bad press. That night wasn't remembered for the millions raised. It was remembered for a moment, a sentence, a choice. Arthur believed power meant never being challenged. He forgot something important. True power isn't in humiliating someone who appears smaller. It's in knowing that dignity doesn't depend on status, and respect is not optional. Naomi graduated the following year at the top of her class. During her valedictorian speech, she said something that quietly went viral again. "They tried to reduce me to a word, but I decided to rise to my worth." And this time, the applause wasn't about money. It was about justice.